Raushawna Price, the giver of awesomeness, is the CEO of Erie Success. She is the international author, coach, speaker, and award-winning radio personality. She holds a bachelor's and master's in industrial and systems engineering, and respectively a master's degree in education leadership from the Broad Center. And she resides in York County. No, in York County. I'm sorry, in York County, another East Coaster, South Carolina, with her husband, two beautiful children, a dog, Frankie, and she is a lover of superhero movies and fun workouts. I love your bio, Raushawna, because it shows like who's in your tribe, right?
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Yep, that's me. I love superhero movies. I have a dog. Her name is Frankie. She's a pit boxer mix, and she gets into everything, and we love her for it. And then I've got my children, my husband, business, all the things that I'm bringing to you all today.
Thanks for being here. I know you've been friends with Ailika for 20 years, she said.
Years. Yeah, it's been a long time. We met in college at North Carolina A&T. She was my TA. We became fast friends. So teaching assistant, the TA. So we became fast friends. We have a lot of mutual friends. We vacation together, raise children together, hold our marriages together, all of the things. Yes.
So, and I love that you're a dog lover. You know, yes. I have a pit bull too, and it just goes to show like what we love, we attract, right? And as entrepreneurs, as human beings, we don't get what we want a lot of time. We get who we're being.
Yes.
And what we show as our value in the world. So I have a pit bull. Yes, I am a huge pit bull fan. You have a pit and boxer mix.
Yeah, we love, so we had a full bred boxer. Her name was Maggie. We had her 11 years. She passed away. And it took me about 4 years before we got another dog. Maggie was our first dog before I had kids, like my fur baby. And it took me a while to grieve her. And then we got Frankie almost 3 years ago. And she was a pup, and now she's 3. And it's just good to have another living thing around to take care of. And it's definitely helped my children be more responsible.
Oh, I love that. The responsibility, which is so key, and entrepreneurship as a leader and as a change maker in the world, right? So awesomeness. How did you find your way to being an entrepreneur, being an author, being a speaker with all your, background and degrees? How long did that take you?
So I've been an entrepreneur full-time for 5 years now, and it really was a journey towards discovery for me, because I have worked in private sector, I have worked in public education. I went to school to study how humans and machines interact with one another in industrial engineering. And I honestly and truly thought I would do that my whole life, that I would be a plant manager in operations. I love wearing jeans and uniforms or t-shirts, bunk caps, hairnet, like none of the things that make you like putting on makeup and hair and nails, all that. I was like, I don't need that. I love being in the plant, the grime, the grease. However, what I realized was my true calling has always been in leading people. So at the age of 22, when I graduated from grad school, I was on third shift managing people in a cereal plant on third shift, no leadership there, in the middle of the night, 11 a.m. to 7 a.m. And they would come to me and ask me questions, and I would be like, I don't know. I have no idea, but you do. So we'll figure it out together. And that was the beginning of me realizing like, oh, to be a great leader, you don't have to know all the answers. You simply have to know who to go to or have questions to ask, to be curious. And that led me then from operations into engineering, into project management. And then I made a career shift into public education, where I really honed in on my voice. I learned about professional development, what it meant to actually create slides and content and present them. I had been doing it, but it had just kind of been on a whim. I didn't know that people studied that, went to school for that. And then when I got to a place where I was being bullied at work, I really took a step back, and we can dive deep into that. I love talking about it. I'm grateful for this bully boss. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for them coming into my life. And when it got really bad and I got sick, I had to make a choice, and I chose to just step away. I chose to step out on faith and to take all my gifts and talents, what I call awesomeness, and start to do something and build something. And I've been building ever since.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing. I would love to hear more about the bully boss and what led you here. I know that's one of your signature talks. Do you want to go more deeper into that?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah. So I'm going to share understanding one. I've written a book called Be a Giver of Awesomeness. It does journey you through it, but I want to share because so many people go, oh my gosh, this is happening to me and I didn't know this, or I wouldn't have classified this as bullying. And so it really started for me with a transition, a leadership transition. I was a senior director at the time. So I had a big girl job, a big office. I was on television. I was working in human resources. And I thought being in human resources, so I made functional changes as well for those following along in this career. So I've been in engineering, I've been in operations, I've had functional changes, I've worked in HR. And so when I was in HR, I thought, oh, this is where people really care for people. Not necessarily. So in this instance, I ended up moving from one leader into another. There was a leadership change above me, and the new leader came in, and before they even started the job, I recognized that they saw something in me that I hadn't yet seen in myself. So there were small little snarky comments. Oh, you think you're so good. Well, in my mind, I'm like, if you don't think you're good, who will? If you don't come with some type of confidence, what's going to happen? And we were in a meeting, and this bully boss said, look at me when I'm talking to you. Yeah. And I, in the moment, was like, time stopped. Internally, I was like, maybe I'm getting ready to be punked. The old school Ashton Kutcher, maybe somebody's getting ready to jump out at me. Like, this clearly has to be a joke, but it wasn't. And for the rest of that meeting, which seemed like an eternity, all I could do was look right over that boss's shoulder and really just pretend to disappear in the room. By the time I ended, that vein in my neck, when the meeting was over, it was like pulsing so hard, and my blood pressure was like 187/53. I was stressed to the max at the time. My face was all broken out. I had lots of symptoms of stress and anxiety, and I thought I could handle this. But what I realized was I couldn't. I'm not made to be in environments where people are intentionally mean. And so I went through a process. This bully boss, I now have characters that I talk about. They're called awesomeness stealers. And so this bully boss is what I call a minimizer. People that get joy out of making you feel small. They're minimizers, and they come for you on a daily because you're their drug, like a high. They kind of see you coming. And I had to go back and really process. This boss would seek me out, ask me how I'm doing, to then like go in and tell me one thing that I could be doing better. Like, what is happening? Yeah, you're having such a good day, but later on today, it's going to be really stressful. So I just need you to take that energy and tame it. What is happening? And all of that was starting to erode my confidence. And so within 3 months, I had all of the signs of stress and anxiety. I went to the doctor because, as I said, my blood pressure was high. My doctor was getting concerned about that. And my doctor said to me, are you going to report this environment? Are you going to report this behavior? And I was like, you don't understand. This is the place you go to report it. This is HR. This is the same place where this leader has said, I'm not here for people, I'm here for the processes. So we just had really different values. And at the time, my section of HR, I had 33 people that reported directly to me. I also knew that they were watching how I was responding to this. And on the last day that I ever saw this person, since in 5 years, the last day that I ever saw them, when I left that day, I did not come back except for to turn in my computer, was the day that this boss in front of everyone said to me, I can't meet with you. You decided to go off and do this. And so you're just not that important. I can't meet with you. But they said it in a way that other people after the boss left came to me and apologized. And I knew then I had to leave, because no one can apologize for someone else's bad behavior. And the fact that everybody else saw it, they were apologetic. I like to call them apologetic onlookers, but they're also getting bullied too. They just don't recognize it, because the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between you and I. If we're in an environment that is stressful, where someone is getting picked on, bullied, and it could just be snarky comments. It might not be getting shoved into the lockers like what I used to watch on Saved by the Bell back in the day. Adult bullying happens around the table. It's where someone says, oh, I have an idea, and then their idea is shut down. And then they're like, who's got ideas? And then they wonder why everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. It erodes people's confidence, and it happens so quickly that people don't recognize it. And what I knew was that I was a leader. I did have influence in that organization. I still do. People still call me 5 years later, but I couldn't stay and continue to perpetuate this picture and have my future be derailed just because I worked for someone who at the time didn't value me, even though they valued me.
I just typed in the chat there that New World leadership does not operate under the minimizer.
Yeah, the
And
minimizer.
even in relationships, nothing works underneath the minimizer in leadership.
It doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't. What happens is, and we're even seeing this now post-pandemic, right? I'm telling you about something that happened to me 5 years ago. However, every time I tell this story, people go, yeah, that's totally, that happened to me, or a version of that happened to me. I was asked by a boss to create this project. And so I did, and they said we were going to present it together. And then at the last minute, they just said, no, I'll do it. And they didn't give me any credit for it. And some people go, that's just how it is. You know, that's what it means to work in corporate America, or in this organization, or for this person, and it's justified. However, internally, that person that happened to holds on to it and goes, the next time I won't give all that I have. And this is why organizations are seeing the great resignation that's happening. We have seen so many people go, I'm out. If this is what it takes, forget it. And what's going to happen, and what we're seeing, is some organizations, all their talent is leaving, and they're just what I like to call ghosting, right? Where you just exit, like I did. I just went out on medical leave, got paid for my time, and when my time was up, I just resigned.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, right. How many, if that's happened to you, if you're like, I'm on the verge, you can put that in the chat too. Like, yeah,
your story is like my story too, back in 2015, but never really gave it the value that it deserves, because so many people minimize their own experience of being bullied, whether that's at work or in other areas. But yeah, it is such a huge, like, silent, I believe the silent disease in our society. And that's why leadership to me is so important. And I know to you as well.
Absolutely. The leaders that go, I messed up, like I was having a bad day and a bad moment, and you encountered me and I was wrong. Not they had a bad day. No, you don't get to have a bad day all over people. And if you aren't emotionally intelligent enough to go, like, I am human, so I did have a bad moment and I'm sorry for that, and I walk it back, and here's how I'm growing. Or you're like, you know what, I'm not in the right frame of mind to have this conversation. Can we table it so that you don't verbally vomit all over people, your insecurity, your frustration? That's leadership. When you can go, this is exactly where I am, and so I can handle this or I can't. And I'll tap in or I'll tap out. And I don't think enough leaders know you can delegate, and you should delegate to your team. And if you don't have a team, go find one, build one, do something, or simply say, I'm not in a position to lead, because being a leader that creates followers that are simply like bodies that are just falling behind you, that isn't leadership.
So how do you see leadership show up in entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs?
I love working with new entrepreneurs. And when I say new entrepreneurs, I mean within the first 2 years. So
Yeah.
they're just getting their footing together. And the first way that I see leadership show up or not is in their ability to lead themselves. See, many entrepreneurs jump in, or at least the ones that I've encountered, go, I have an idea. And so they're like, and I'm ready. And their idea is what's driving them. And then they hit a wall. And the excitement has worn out. And it's hard. And that's when their leadership really has to show up of, why did you get into this in the first place? What's really driving you? And let's then move forward so that you can lead yourself into the future that you actually said you wanted. And the way that this helps, that I see entrepreneurs really step into that leadership, is when they do just what I talked about, by delegating, by creating a team. Even if it's go get an intern, go barter with someone for services, because you can't build something great by yourself. You really do have to bring people with you almost from the beginning, or as soon as you start getting enough momentum, adding one person or a part-time somebody or virtual something, and teaching and working with leaders and entrepreneurs that are doing the work, that want to persist. That's the difference. That's what I've seen be the difference between people that after 2 years continue and those that are like, I'm going back, or I'm going to do something else.
So thank you for sharing. So the wall that you are referring to,
Mm-hmm.
how does like the wall show up? What are some signs if maybe someone's listening and they don't know if they've hit the wall or not?
Yeah. So the first way the wall shows up, I'll start talking about is time. That's the first way, where people are excited about working on their business. So they start getting up early. They do they've read all the books. This is what successful people do. They get up early and they get to the computer and they have a routine, and they start that way. And then it starts to wean. They get up a little later. They show up a little bit less excited. And their time now starts to feel really long. It used to be a day, or when they were working, time would fly by. And then they get to a place where time goes, oh, it's only been an hour. Like, I've been working on this content for, it feels like all day. It's really only been 45 minutes. And so when their time is starting to slow, we know that there's a wall that's coming. Or maybe they're at it. Everyone's a little different, but that's the indicator of time. So start to pay attention to your time. When you're working and excited about what you're doing, time is going to fly by. When you are in a place where you're trying to make it happen, and I've got to like get this done, and you're forcing it, then time is going to be your enemy, and it will be the thing that sucks the energy out of you. So pay attention to your time. That's the first way the wall shows up. The second way the wall shows up is in broken collaborations. And I'm going to say broken collaborations because I see a lot of entrepreneurs trying to connect with people, going, oh, they look like they've got a thing, so I want to collaborate with them. Or, oh, I see online, especially on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, they've got connections, I want to connect with them. But it's actually broken. It was broken from the beginning, because the entrepreneur that reached out didn't have enough of their own confidence to actually come to the table and collaborate. They were really just looking to come to the table to get from the other person. I like to think of it like an analogy. I'll give it to you this way. So when we come to the table to collaborate, Carrie, you and I, we're first going to talk about, so let's make a meal. Are we going to make breakfast, lunch, or dinner? And we're going to decide, okay, we're both hungry. We like breakfast, even though it's lunchtime, we're going to make like brunch. So once we decide we're going to make brunch together, you may go off and make a brunch dish, and I'll make a brunch dish, and we'll both bring them to the table so we can eat well. That is collaboration at its highest. We've decided what we're going to eat, and then we've each gone off to do our job, our work, so we can come back together and eat well. what I see happen with entrepreneurs when they're at the wall is they try to shimmy up to somebody else's table and go, so let's eat. But they actually haven't brought anything of their own to the table, nor are they willing to put in the work to create something great with other people. And so that's the second way that I see the wall show up.
So coming from a place of getting versus giving, it goes giving and generosity.
Giving and generosity, or going, this is the way. I also see it as a way of performing. I have to perform. So it is inauthentic is the word it's that inauthentic. Well, I'll pretend like I actually have more success than I do, versus being like, if you have 500 people on your list, that's what you got. And it is what it is. Now, are those 500 people monetized? If they are, great. If they aren't, that's fine too. Let's just be honest about it so that you can grow into where you actually want to be.
So the honesty piece is so huge, that the leadership comes from trusting yourself and being honest. Yeah. If we don't trust ourselves as entrepreneurs, as change makers, nobody else is going to trust us.
Right. We're actually going to be putting it out there. We're talking about manifesting. So if you are dishonest with yourself, then you are manifesting people coming into your life that are dishonest as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, when you look at people that don't trust themselves, right? When we don't trust ourselves, then we're actually attracting people that don't trust themselves either.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole theme of like for manifesting your magic and attracting and connecting with clients and yourself is what I'm really passionate about. It's look outside and see what is coming towards you. So that's also, I feel like, another sign of even in collaborations, right?
Yeah. Like if you're wondering, all of you out there that are listening, if you're wondering, well, Raushawna, like, where am I? You can do an inventory of what's coming towards you in your life right now. What are you attracting right now? If you have current clients, do an inventory of the clients you have. And if you have clients that are like, oh my gosh, when you see their emails or their phone calls or their DMs, however they reach out to you, and you are like, oh, here they come, they're going to wear me out, then this is your time to be honest with yourself and go, this is not the type of client. And how are they showing up? So if you have clients that are needy, that are codependent, that are wanting you to do it all for them, they're actually not doing very much. They said, hey, hold me accountable, and you hold them accountable, and now they're mad. Those aren't your clients. Then those just aren't your clients. And whatever you're attracting, so then there must be a part of you that wants to be needed, that needs to feel validated by other people. And if I am ringing your doorbell going ding dong, you're like, oh, that's me. I'm doing it out of love and care right now, to be honest with you. Because sometimes what happens is entrepreneurs have unhealed wounds, they have hurt, and they go, I'm going to build this business, and this business is going to help me feel good about myself. But all the business is doing is creating this internal wear of destruction internally, because there's this stuff that they're dealing with, and then they're attracting more of it. Why do I have so many clients that are calling me all the time and they're so needy? Well, if you tell them to call you anytime and you're the one solving all their problems and they're not ever thinking on their own, that's what's happening. The other way I'll say it, and this happens, is sometimes I work with entrepreneurs who go, I am not getting paid. People are not paying their invoices. And then I ask them, then how many outstanding invoices do you have? Because typically what happens is there's a cycle, and the entrepreneur is the one that actually started it. Oh, you didn't pay so-and-so, or you backed out of so-and-so's program. Now you're wondering why people are backing out of your program. I see that a lot with coaches, especially, that go, I wanted to build something great, people aren't paying me. Well, who didn't you pay?
Yeah, the mirror effect.
The mirror.
So hitting the wall, some of the signs, I'm writing them down, of hitting the wall in entrepreneurship is time, right? Like time scarcity, and then collaboration that fail,
broken,
or that are coming from a place of getting and not giving.
That's right.
Did you mention another one about, or are there any other ones?
Yeah. So then we just also talked about then that manifesting what's
Yeah.
coming towards you. So the
Okay.
other part of that wall is what's coming towards you.
Attracting what we don't want.
Attracting what you don't want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sure.
So the giver of awesomeness, where did that come about? How was that created? Because I love tapping into creativity for us to live into abundance. I feel like abundance and creativity are coexisting.
Definitely. I believe that as well. So the giver of awesomeness is my official registered trademark. And it happened when I was sitting at my computer on my LinkedIn profile, and I knew that the Lord was telling me that I was going to be doing something different. I had gotten certified as a coach with the John Maxwell team. I was doing some coaching for leaders in the organization I was working in, and I really loved it. I had paid attention to the time and was like, this is my sweet spot. I enjoy it. But I didn't know what I was supposed to be called. And at the time, people were very much on title, like you got to have a thing. And I was like, I don't know what my thing is. I don't, am I a life coach? Am I executive coach? Like I have all these skills in my toolbox. And so I just sat back feeling frustrated. Like, I remember going like, okay, God, who am I supposed to be? And all these people's voices flooded in. Oh my gosh, Raushawna, you're amazing. You're awesome. You rock. You're such a giver. And then the phrase came, giver of awesomeness. And little tiny voice, which I call the Holy Spirit, whispered, trademark that. And so I did. I trademarked the phrase. The first time I did it online, I didn't know what I was doing. The second time I hired a lawyer to do it. So I tell everyone out there, if you have a smarts, you have something, get good people in your corner to help you do it correctly, to protect that smarts. And now it is trademarked in all categories so that I can use it as a mark. I can use it for t-shirts, for books, all of that. And it has since become really who I am in the world and who I'm called to be for other people. See, we all have awesomeness, these inner gifts, these inner talents that we have. And it is our responsibility to know them, guard them, and then give them to the world around us in the right places and spaces. Otherwise, what happens is other people know we have them and they get stolen from us. They get distorted from us. They get tainted in some way because what we think isn't a good thing is actually our gift, our talent. And we have to then understand it so we can be givers of awesomeness.
So I would love to hear about, that was so powerful, what you just said. You get to know them, guard them, and give them. Yes. I was writing that down. So how does one guard them?
So you first have to guard them by knowing what they are. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So I know for myself, and my bully boss taught me this, that I have the ability to shift the room when I come into it. I do. When I walk in, I shift the room. I am noticed. I am a person like without even, I naturally I don't have this, like, I got to be seen, all of that. It just happens. It's a part of my strengths. I have woo. If those of you that do any strengths finder work, I have this thing called woo, and it just happens. I have so many examples of life coming at me in this way. And for a long time, I thought, this is bad. When I worked under this bully boss, it was, you're a lot. Can you just like take it down? And what I realized is, no, this is my awesomeness. And I have to guard it because some people come for it because they want me to make a way for them. Right? Like, can you just get the room started and I'll come in? However, I'm not called to be in every room. There are some rooms that people want to go into. It's like, oh, I can't be your person. I'm not, that doesn't align with my values. That doesn't align with my beliefs. And I can't be that for you. And I've had to learn how to guard that part of me to say, let's talk more about what you're trying to do. Let's talk more about what you're looking for me to add to it, because I don't want to be in places and spaces that I'm not authorized to be in. And I can't bring my awesomeness into places and spaces that it's really not going to be valued or appreciated, or it's going to be tainted in some way. And so that's how you do it. So you have to be able to go, I'm really good at this. Some of you are great starters. You can see a little bit of somebody's idea and you can make it huge. However, if you do that with the wrong person, you will be working really, really hard. You'll be wanting it more for them than they want for themselves. You'll be down the street and around the corner, and they're just getting out of the car, and you're the one doing all the work. Some of you are great finishers. You're the person that they've gotten it to 80%, but that last 20%, they need that thought partnership, and they come to you every time to finish it for them. And then what you end up with is all these other people's finished stuff that you actually didn't ever want to be a part of. And your finished stuff is still waiting for you. This is the difference. This is how you know what's your awesomeness versus someone else's and how to guard it and protect it. So those are just a few examples, Carrie.
Everyone can relate with that. Either you're a good starter, not a good finisher, which is, I'm a good starter, not a good finisher. So to know that, I get to surround myself with people that support me to finish things.
Exactly.
Right? And to be connected with the end result and the price that I pay for not completing that.
Yeah. And if people know you're a great starter, they're going to come to you with their stuff. However, you can't be the one to start other people's stuff if they aren't willing to run the race with you. So you'll be out there by yourself.
Vision gets to be aligned.
Exactly.
Right.
It has to be aligned.
Yes. So the vision, the values get to be aligned.
They need to be aligned. And for people that are great starters, there needs to be role clarity upfront. Because your awesomeness, your gift is in the start. You can see it sometimes before even those that have a thing. They come to you with I have a thing. I don't really know what the thing is. I'm not sure how big the thing could be. They don't know all of that, but you're like, I'm ready. Let's go. And you might get going, and they may still be like at the starting block, just lining up. And then you can get out too far in front of them, and it's really their thing, but you're now running with it. And if they aren't as committed, you could be running towards and building something that they're not actually ready to bring forward. And then you've wasted your time.
So how does one find themselves running at the same place?
That role clarity is critical. So you have an idea, that role clarity of, okay, especially if people are bringing it to you. If people are bringing it to you because they're like, oh my gosh, Carrie, I see you have this manifest thing you're doing. You've got these speakers. I see you just did this. I want to do that too. And you're like, okay, here's what you do. Boom, 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 boom. Before you give any information, before you say, here's what you do, you say, okay, yeah. So tell me what you liked about my summit. So how many speakers did you listen to? So if I were to help you, what would help look like? See, these things help you understand where people are currently, because if somebody likes what you've done, yet they haven't actually invested any time into it, they haven't watched anything, they can't tell you what help looks like when you give it to them, you will be showing up, giving them so much more, and they'll be going, that's not what I asked for, or they won't even recognize it as help. They may see it as a burden. You're asking me to do a lot. It's a lot.
Clarity is always like the number one C for me in creating vision, is the clarity, and not just for ourselves, but for the collaboration. This is so powerful, because how many people like go into collaborations and have a bad experience, and then they base the future on this one experience that was a poor collaboration.
Right. There was a poor collaboration. And then they just are like, nah, I'm not going to do it again. Or worse yet, they say, I'll just do it myself. That phrase, I'll just do it myself, for an entrepreneur is like death, because you can't build anything great by yourself. It will only go so far. There's only so much capacity that you have. And when I say death, it may not actually be a physical death, but it could be death of your relationships. It could be death of your mental clarity, of your focus, of your time, of your health. Those are all deaths that many entrepreneurs sacrifice to build something when they could have said, I will do it with other people. I will relinquish control, or I will set myself into the right place in my business and outsource everything else.
Yes, I know. Alika said, we talked about this morning
Yeah.
about the power of doing that. So you said about the awesomeness, it's to know them, guard them, and give them your gifts, right? I refer to as like your magic or your gifts. So about the ownership, can you talk into the idea of ownership of your gifts, your awesomeness?
Yeah. So the ownership of it is like getting dressed. So one of the ways I think about it, the ownership of it is, you have this. It is on you. It is on you daily. It is a part of how you show up. It is what has you winning games with people you don't even know you're playing. You are doing it in the unconscious. It just happens. That's your awesomeness. And what you have to do is walk it back to be consciously aware when to use it and when not to.
So if I may just briefly interject here, the ownership of your gifts versus what I see as many people take ownership of their limitations or like their self-doubt and that. So how does one take ownership amongst the self-doubt? And like the self-doubt is always going to be there at times.
Right. So what I recommend is that people understand what their self-doubt is saying to them. Like, what's the narrative? What's the soundtrack? Allow it to speak fully. Allow it to say whatever it needs to say. So if it's saying, who do you think you are? You're not really that good. That might not work out. Whatever it is it's saying, you want to hear it fully so that then you know to put it on trial or to give it the right seat. So that, and I believe all of self-doubt should have a front row seat to your awesomeness and what you're getting ready to go and do.
Rather than that.
Come have a seat, front row seat. So who do you think you are? Great. You sit right here. Let me tell you, I'm the giver of awesomeness. I change people's lives. I do it in a way that is unprecedented to other people because I really don't care what people look like. Honestly, I work with people in their pajamas because they don't have to come get on a call with me and get coaching and be fancy. I actually want them to bring me all the dirt and the mess because I can hold it, right? That's who I am. The part of you that's like, and maybe some of you have this like, but it might not work out. I might not make money. Great. You sit right here. Okay, let's talk about that. So money is simply energy. It is like love. I have an abundance of it already, and I'm going to use it to come. It's going to come towards me. Some of it's going to have my name on it. Some of it actually isn't for me at all. It's meant to be distributed into the world around me. So of course money's coming towards me because it can trust me. It can trust me to do what it's supposed to do. So thank you so much for making me aware of it. Another one is simply fear. A lot of people just have fear. Fear is excitement without a destination. And then it shows up in self-doubt because it's like, well, I'm scared. Great. Scared means that there's a possibility it's going to be amazing and you get to decide. Give fear a destination. So these are all the ways in which you put the self-sabotage, the negative thinking into the seats and speak to it and go, now watch this. I'll be right back. I'm going to go do my awesome thing. I'm going to go whatever you're called to do, put your product, your service out there, talk to someone, make a cold call, whatever it is, do it and allow them to watch. And the more you do it, the smaller and smaller and smaller they get.
What a beautiful example of it. I'm glad I asked that question because just visualizing like them in the seat, right? The doubt, the fear, the lack of self-confidence, and then talking like it's in the audience. And then through repetition, they shrink.
Yeah. And it is a daily thing. So one of the things I want to share with everyone is it is daily. It could be moment by moment, or it could be context. So situation changes and you're like, oh gosh, it's bigger again. That's okay. What I want you to know is it is okay to talk to the fear, the doubt, the uncertainty, the self-sabotage, all of it. Talk to it. It's coming for a reason. It actually knows who you really are internally. It just has a different vantage point. And so because it has a different vantage point, you can dialogue with it and say, I know you see me this way, but I really actually know. And we're going to be safe and it's going to be good. And on the other side of this, you'll be gone, or you'll come back again to actually let me know I'm doing something great. So one of the things that comes to me typically right here is the, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are question. And I now know when that voice comes that I'm supposed to keep moving forward. Thank you. I tell it, oh, thank you. You showed up. I will do that. I will turn to it. Thank you. You showed up. I know I'm on the right track. I appreciate you. And then you just keep moving forward.
When does who do you think you are show up the most for you?
Anytime. I mean, recently, I can just give you an example recently. If that, because it comes, it comes. It didn't come right before this interview because I knew that we have rapport and relationship, and I just came off of a big weekend where I had done a lot of things. So it's quieted right now. But heading into the Awesomeness Sparks conference, where I hosted a conference with people coming from 6 different states internationally, from Bermuda, had this great experience. But leading into it, I was, oh, who do you think you are? I was like what do people know? Come, all of that.
Was that your first live event, or you've done many live events?
This is the second annual Awesomeness Sparks conference where I hosted it. I've done several live events as a speaker, as a collaborator, but this is the second year of me hosting my own conference.
So typically it gets loudest when we're doing something new, and what I refer to as like stretching into something that is uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that voice, it's like you're staying inside your comfort zone. You're actually not being big and bold. Like the voice is supposed to come, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's supposed to come. It needs to come. It is evidence that you are doing something that is bigger than you are. And it comes to go, oh, you're doing something big. Holy cow.
Yeah. So congratulations on your second annual live event. Do you have your next one planned?
So this is an annual event, the Awesomeness Sparks Conference. So it will be the 3rd weekend in September 15th through the 17th in Jacksonville, Florida in 2023.
Awesome.
Yes.
So how do you work with your clients? Do you work with clients one-on-one? Do you work with them in groups? What does that look like to work with you, Raushawna?
Yeah, so I work with clients, as you said, individually. I do individual coaching, everything from executive coaching, hey, I want to get better in my role, to I really need to figure out what's causing me hurt, harm, pain, and I need to get rid of it. So we do the gamut. I say it this way: you have one body and one soul. And so we work through it all, no matter what context in your life. I also do group coaching for organizations that are looking to grow a cohort of leaders. So there are typically times when leaders are coming together, they've been promoted together, or they're functionally working together, and they need to create synergies. So we do that as well as I do keynote speeches and workshops and trainings.
And I know you also have a show. You want to share about your show?
Yeah. So one of the things about being a great speaker, I call my radio show under the speaker umbrella. So I am a radio personality with iHeartRadio and on the station WDRB Media. And I'm actually headed to San Diego in October to do an artist showcase. So there are record labels that are coming to audition new artists that are looking to enter into the hip hop genre. And I will be interviewing those artists as well to get their stories out there, to understand more about why they are looking to bring their music into the world. And I'm excited about that.
That's a big next step for you.
Yeah. Interviewing people is one of the ways in which you just get to know them better. It's, as you know, as you're doing, it is a great thing to do. So on my show I've been in radio 2 years, and I have interviewed multimillionaires. I have interviewed stay-at-home moms. I have interviewed those that are going, I just wanted to come on and share my story. I believe the platform is meant for everyone. It's called the Awesomeness in Action radio show. And it's really about awesomeness can exist anywhere. And I applaud it wherever it's happening, big, small, whether it's seen and known publicly or whether it is private and amongst your nuclear family.
Oh, I love that. That awesomeness it's created everywhere. So how did you find yourself into the show? Like from speaker to show, or I love the transition, and we all have transitions and seasons of our life.
Yeah. So it was actually in 2020. So during the pandemic, I got a phone call, which I thought was spam, where someone was saying, hey, like, we want to give you some radio advertising. And I was like, what? They're like, do you want to come to the studio? And honestly, I was in a place where I was like, I don't have a lot of time. I don't really even know if this is real, but I felt this nudging, again, that what I call the Holy Spirit going, you should go, you need to go. And I sat through an interview. I met with the producer, and the producer said, have you ever considered radio? And I was like, no, people have told me, people were telling me, you should do a podcast. You should do a podcast. And I was like, I feel like that looks hard and I don't want to do that. I don't know if it was, but right, my limiting beliefs at the time, it looks hard. I don't want to do that. And after having a conversation with the producer, and I did what's called a radio drop, where you take 30 seconds and do a call sign. I did that, and they said, this is the best we've ever seen anyone do it, like just right off the bat. And I said, really? Because it felt effortless. And I knew, oh, wait a minute. This is actually aligned to what I already do and what I'm already good at. So it isn't hard, it's an extension. And what would happen? I asked myself this question: what would happen if I had this platform and I used it for good, like a superhero? The difference between superheroes and supervillains is how they use their super. So I was like, well, if this is a part of my superhero, if this is awesomeness, and now I have another way to bring people's stories to platforms, why wouldn't I? And I've been doing it ever since. And my show is fully funded. It is a source of revenue generation. It gives me an opportunity to create spaces for people, some for the first time, to get their music, their artistry out into the world. And that's powerful.
So how would one get on your show if they want to get their message out into the world? Because that's my passion, is to connect people with their vision and turn it into a message and mission and movement. So
if you go to giverofawesomeness.com and click the radio button, all the information is there for sponsorship, for promotions, to be on the show. giverofawesomeness.com.
Okay, I'm gonna write that in the chat as well. giverofawesomeness.com. And then I do on the Zoom have your free gift for the listeners. And you know, Peter said with a couple off projects I'm working on. So Peter here, he said, I can see myself at iHeartRadio to interview and help others get their music out.
Great, Peter.
He's interested.
Yeah, let's connect. I'm also on Instagram as Giver of Awesomeness. So that's a new platform that I'm on. And I say new, meaning I was on Instagram for about 2.5 years. I got off. I decided I didn't want to be on that platform in the way that I had been. And I really wanted to focus it on radio and get some of the noise out of it, be out of the way, especially during the pandemic when so many people were on, but there was a lot happening around suicide and all of that. And I just felt a need to kind of pull back. And so I did. And so I'm recently now back on as Giver of Awesomeness. So you can find me there and reach out to me, DM me as well.
Awesome. I put the link in the chat there, Giver of Awesomeness. I'm sure that Peter and many people will reach out to you. And I know that you are a gift to the world.
Thank you.
And sharing your own gift. And I love that you brought up, I wrote it down, that your awesomeness is effortless.
It is. It is the thing that you do that you don't even know you're doing. So when people even compliment you on it, you're going, that? Some of you may be like, you got compliments on, oh my gosh, you're so organized. Look at that. And you're going, like, doesn't everyone think that way? No, they don't. They don't categorize things that way. They don't create that spreadsheet that way. They don't talk that way, whatever your thing is. And I really want you to pay attention to it. The things that you're brushing off, like, oh, they were just being nice, or, oh, they paid me a compliment, but it wasn't that great. No, that's a part of your awesomeness. And you may be undervaluing it or simply going, everyone's like that. No, they aren't.
Yeah, most people minimize their awesomeness back to,
back to that minimizer. We can be our own awesomeness dealers as well.
Yes. So thank you so much for sharing your time, your awesomeness, your love. You know, I think about my own awesomeness, and I love doing this. Like, I love bringing people together. I love giving and I love connecting. And it really is something that's effortless. And everyone has that gift inside of them that they have yet even to uncover, in the sense of, ooh, I didn't realize that could be my awesomeness. You're just hiding it.
Exactly. You're just hiding it. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carrie. This has been a pleasure. You are definitely awesomeness in action.
Oh, thank you, Raushawna. It's been such a pleasure to meet you and have you on the show.
Likewise, likewise. I look forward to staying connected and supporting you and your platforms out there.
Thanks. So we are going to just take a little bit of a break. You can stick around if you have questions for Raushawna. You can leave them in the chat. I know we don't have that many people here on the Zoom, but I am recording.